Hello and welcome. I'm Ijoma Honyaso. Tonight, President Buhari restates resolve to probe Amnesty International's report on alleged human rights abuses by top military officers. Army gives assurance of speedy end to Boko Haram insurgency as it deploys more troops to combat terrorism in the northeast. APC accepts new leadership of the National Assembly, says party will come out stronger. And the political crisis in Burundi continues as opposition parties agree to boycott next month's elections.
And on Business News tonight, NET reveals electronic fraud is on the rise in Nigeria, hits a total of 6.21 billion naira.
And on sports news, Nigeria table tennis players win 4 gold medals on final day of the International Table Tennis Federation's World Junior Circuit in Egypt.
The President has restated his administration's resolve to closely study the report released recently by Amnesty International, in which it accused top officials of Nigerian military of human rights abuses. The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, explained that the President is quite disturbed by the allegations contained in the report and is eager to have the allegations confirmed or disproved. He called it one of the first assignments to be carried out by the incoming Attorney General of the Federation, who will thereafter advise the government on an appropriate course of action. Stressing President Buhari's commitments to human rights and his promise that there will be no human rights abuses under his government, the President's aide said, quote, "Any allegation of human rights abuse that takes place during the tenure of President Buhari's government will be swiftly investigated and dealt with," end of quote. Meanwhile, emotions ran high at the Defense House this evening as President Muhammadu Buhari, his wife Aisha Buhari, and the wife of the Vice President Dolapo Oshibajo met with 2 women whose daughters are among over 200 missing Chibok girls. At the meeting, the 2 women broke down in tears while Mrs. Buhari was on hand to console them. The Vice President's wife told State House correspondents what transpired during the meeting.
Her Excellency Hajia Aisha Muhammadu Buhari has for very many months wanted to visit Chibok. She also wanted to meet with the mothers. So today we had an opportunity for them to meet face to face. We had 2 of the mothers who still have their daughters missing after a year. And Hajia, being a mother, she met with them, she held them, they cried. Everybody cried. And what only a mother will do is to say, wait, I want you to see your father and see what your father will do. So we are all extremely overwhelmed that at this time when the President is so busy doing so much, he had time to meet with the women from Chibok. He met with them, he spoke to them in English, he spoke to them in Hausa, and he explained to them how he keeps saying to everyone, put yourself in their place. So today we have had the opportunity for the President and Hajia to show that truly they are a father and a mother of this nation.
To take another look on the issue of the Amnesty report now, in an earlier interview with Channels Television, Amnesty International researcher in Nigeria claimed that the organization has authentic evidence to back its allegations. The organization had indicted the Chief of Defense Staff, Air Marshal Alex Bade, Chief of Army Staff, Kenneth Minima, Chief of Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Adeshola Amusun, and the former Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Azubike Ihejirika.
So this report presents all of our findings about human rights violations committed by the Nigerian military in northeast Nigeria. It's the sequel to a report that we released in April that looked solely at crimes committed by Boko Haram, and we found then that Boko Haram had committed war crimes and crimes against humanity. This report's on the military. We find that more than 7,000 people died in military detention facilities since March 2011. And that's as a result of starvation, sometimes of suffocation, of a lack of access to medical treatment. So many died of disease. So that's deaths in custody. And then we also find that more than 1,200 men and boys were unlawfully killed by the Nigerian military during its operations. That includes incidents like the attack on Giwa Barracks. So you might remember that in March of last year, Boko Haram attacked Giwa Barracks, released the detainees that were in prison there, and then the military came back later that day, rounded up more than 640 of these detainees who were unarmed, and executed them. So those are the two main findings, deaths in custody and extrajudicial executions. Now, we've also found that we also have evidence that a number of senior military leaders in the Nigerian army knew about these crimes and either didn't take action to stop them or didn't investigate them. And so we believe that they should be investigated for their individual criminal responsibility for these crimes.
Deployment of more troops to the northeast, the army authorities are offering an assurance that the Boko Haram insurgency in the region will soon be over. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Kenneth Minima, who affirmed this, said he's satisfied with the brief he got from troop commanders battling insurgents in Adamawa and Borno states. General Minima spoke to Channels Television during the graduation of warrant officers and senior non-commissioned officers in Jaji, Kaduna State. The Chief of Naval Staff, who also addressed graduates of Junior Course 79, asked military officers fighting the insurgency to abide by the rules of engagement.
Our actions, particularly during the counter-insurgency operations, is crucial and must be guided by the Armed Forces Act. Standing operating procedures or rule engagement, as the case may be. Note that Mr. President only outlined the rules of engagement only yesterday.
It's a frontline visit to fighting units, meeting with the fighting troops and identifying with them, listening to them, and finding a way forward for how we are going to end insurgency as quickly as possible. And the report of my visit, of course, is not to be made public. We'll quickly see how we can put that into use and drive further the war insurgency. War is war. War is not exactly like mathematics. War also cannot be fixed on a calendar, but we believe that as possible, we will bring this war to a conclusion favorable to the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The President, Muhammadu Buhari, has received the report on the handover notes from the Goodluck Jonathan administration. The chairman of the 18-man APC Transition Committee, Ahmad Joda, who submitted the report, told State House correspondents that the delay in the submission of the committee report was because they took time to sort out the over 1,800-page handover notes from the former President, Goodluck Jonathan. On whether the report is responsible for the delay in announcing political appointments by the Buhari administration, Mallam Joda called on Nigerians to be patient with the president while he goes through the recommendations of the report. Now it appears the dust raised following the emergence of the Senate and House of Representatives leadership may soon settle. This indication was given by the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. John Oyegun, who explained that his party has come to live with the reality that Senator Bukola Saraki is now the Senate president. The APC national chairman, who was at the Defense House for the submission of the Transition Committee report to the president, told State House correspondents that his party will pass through the challenges of this time and come out stronger.
As No, people said they were going to court, which is their right, from a constitutional right. But as a party, we are taking everything, a broad look at everything. And I assure you, we are coming out stronger.
Your party has accepted him as the Senate President?
Of course, he has been duly elected by his colleagues. End of story. We have a reality, and we must live with that reality. Nothing went wrong. There was just a lot of consultations to do. You can't be in two places at the same time. And so it was not possible for us to make. But we have been talking. That is clear, yeah. We don't want to make a song and dance of it.
The British government has promised to work with the Nigerian Senate in areas of capacity building, economic management and security. The British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Mr. Andrew Pocock, made this commitment when he met with the Senate President Bukola Saraki in the National Assembly. The High Commissioner also used the opportunity to congratulate the Senate President on his election.
And to make a commitment to him and to the Nigerian Senate that the British government and the British High Commission here in Abuja will continue to work very closely with the Senate on a whole range of areas in which we can help. We discussed capacity building for the Senate, both in general terms and also in areas of particular interest and difficulty, complex pieces of legislation. We discussed how we might help with some ideas about the management of the Nigerian economy, areas in which the UK can make a contribution. And we briefly discussed some of the security inputs that we might make to help with the stabilization of the situation in the northeast.
How do you think the economy of Nigeria should manage?
We agreed that the basic structure of Nigeria's economy needs to change a bit, that while there's huge potential here, in terms of revenue streams for the government, it's still too dependent on one commodity. So how that commodity and that industry is better managed on the one hand, and how the economy is better diversified on the other, and how the National Assembly, and in this case the Senate, can make a contribution through legislation, through oversight, through monitoring, to the fundamental economic changes that are needed. We discussed some of these things, and while we didn't come up with instant solutions, we had a very substantive discussion, and we are going to come back to the Senate and to the Senate President with some further ideas.
In part two, after the break, June 12 comes into focus once again, 22 years on. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.